Hello Capricorn, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for July for the Sun or the Ascendant. Going to give you a broad overview of the key strands to look out for, but then please stay with me. I will dive deep to give you in detail all the key dates and influences that are absolutely specific to your sign. Now, this month begins with the Sun making its way through your sector of relating. If you recall, on the 29th of June, we had a new moon in the sign of Cancer, but that squared Jupiter. Jupiter in your fourth house of home, emotion and family. If there is a relationship in your world that you find is very nurturing and gives you a sense of positivity, it's really going to show itself early in this month. But Pluto in your sign since 2008 is in a very tense and abrasive right angle to Mars through the first 4 days of this month. So if there is something that's not quite so tranquil and harmonious around a relationship, I think that can be a little bit of a trigger. Now we're also going to see this month the Sun and Mercury go face to face with Pluto in your sign from the 17th through to the 22nd, and that can create a lot of tension. And the full moon in your sign on the 13th is really asking you to be decisive about some relationship issues. So that's the main thrust. But of course you've got your ruler Saturn in retrograde all this month. Mars is going to be moving on the 5th. Mercury makes 3 transitions this month, Venus 1, and we also have the Sun returning to its home sign of Leo on the 22nd. So lots of exciting stuff to share with you. But if you would like to ascend above zodiac astrology and understand more about how 3 pieces of your personal data of time, date and place of birth, if you share those with me, I can give you a roadmap that can guide you for the rest of your life. And also with my special package of 30% off a 12-month forecast. Now these charts are going to be totally individual to you, and no 2 charts are the same. Please see the link beneath this video for more. Now, after all those struggles with illnesses and various challenges, I'm nearly at the 100,000 mark for subs on YouTube. If you'd be so kind to subscribe, I'd be really honoured. If you have already, thank you so much for your support. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol, but please stay with me for more. So Capricorn, as you make your way into this new month, relationships I really do feel are at the centre of the focus. But Mercury and Venus obviously very much to do with relating through its rulership of Libra. They're actually in the 6th house. And Mercury in the 6th house in particular can be a little bit brittle. And that square between Mars and Pluto across the first 4 or 5 days, oh my word, that really could lead to some kind of standoff. So what's this all about? Relationships, I feel, are not just about what we're wanting in life. It's also about what we're able to give. And sometimes the balance of the in and out, of the give and take, gets a little bit discordant. And I think that's the main potential theme that you may have to look at this month. But equally, this could be a month when you really can see just how well certain relationships are going. So it depends on your unique situation. But I think Pluto in your sign is making you very direct about your needs as an individual. Mars in the 4th house doesn't take prisoners. I mean, it's a really impulsive, impatient and quite outspoken placement for Mars to be. So the 2 together could make you very guttural and, very direct if you feel that someone's not hearing your point of view or being very considerate to your needs. But Jupiter in its square to that new moon that occurred at the end of June, that gives great potential for uplift. So if there is somebody that you do find that you can collaborate very well with, even if you don't necessarily agree on everything, there's just something about the relationship where you always manage to see the upside. The glass is always half full rather than half empty. So there's a little bit of a dichotomy at the start of this month of how things could unfold. But on the 5th, things can really start to develop positively, because Mercury moves into your 7th house. Now technically it's 2 weeks stay in Cancer, which is very swift, usually takes 21 days. The Mercury transit through Cancer can be a bit subjective, because of the watery elements on Mercury tends to dissolve some of its clarity and its precision, which it gets through the rulership of Gemini and also of Virgo. But I think for you, Mercury moving through the 7th house could just enable you to be a bit more detached if someone does see something differently. So that could be of great benefit. Also, Mars moving on the 5th into your sister Earth sign of Taurus is really exciting, because over the previous 6 weeks, moving through the 4th house may have seen you quite grumpy at times, even, rather irritable, and certainly impatient to get things done, anything to do with making improvements to your home or actually moving altogether. But moving into the sign of Taurus, the 5th house is about pleasure. And one of your great gifts, as I've often said, is your sense of humour. So if you are someone who does like to interact with people, Mars over the following 6 weeks from the 5th can really give you much greater desire to socialise. Sun in the 7th, Mercury in the 7th, and Mars in the 5th, along with, of course, the more unpredictable Uranus, the planet of truth, the planet in mythology, which governs the sky, so it influences astrology, but also the North Node. So we've got an opportunity evolving for you to be more playful. And in fact, Mars moving into your 5th house can do wonders for your sex appeal. You may even give yourself some kind of glamorous makeover. And this collection of energy could see you a bit more daring, particularly in week 2, when the Sun forges a very enabling 60-degree angle to Uranus. And this sextile is terrific, because Uranus can give you a bit of devil-may-care. You're a sign known for your caution, but it's important not to let that pulverise your passion. And the Sun in the 7th house linking with Uranus could mean a sudden invite, a desire to reach out and try to connect with someone that you're drawn to romantically. In a more creative context, you may even try to form some kind of partnership. Also, Venus may be locked in your 6th house of practicalities, but it's still in the flirty Gemini, and that forges a great link with your ruler, and that's from the 11th through to about the 17th, 18th. So that aspect means that when it comes to trying to communicate the detail of anything that you want to achieve, but the more practical elements of it, and it could even be a financial matter, you can do so with a light and deft touch, which could make people responsive. Now, I need to tell you about Saturn because it is in retrograde all this month. We know, I predicted this last year, that due to the North Node moving into Taurus on the 18th of January, plus Uranus, the two, having very different effects but very powerful. And then, of course, in mid-May we had that potent Scorpio lunar eclipse, which is still pouring energy into the next 6 months. Well, this is a big financial reset that's going on. And Saturn, your ruler, is in your 2nd house of personal finance. So I think it's only reasonable to explore that whatever our situation, there is greater cost that's coming into the equation, whether it's fuel, heating, foodstuffs, raw commodities, travel, whatever we're doing, there is more cost in it. So I think Saturn being in your 2nd house of everyday monies, it could be making you look for economies, but that link with Venus can be very helpful, because remember, Venus does rule money. It's not just the ruler of relationships. But on the 13th, we have the full moon in your sign. And if there is a relationship which you're truly not happy with, at the very least, there's going to be a major discussion that goes on in the following week or so. But because Venus moves on the 18th into the sign of Cancer. If it is salvageable, that can be a point when a greater flow of dialogue develops between you and the other party. But because the position of Saturn is in a quincunx, which can be a harsh, difficult influence, with the Sun in the full moon, it's possible that money or a difference of opinion over core values could be part of your discontent over a relationship, particularly if you're someone who's giving it everything, really working your socks off, and you feel that your partner isn't really taking the situation seriously or is not acknowledging your persistence and your perspiration, two great qualities of yours, then that could be something that does need discussion. Because once from the 17th, the Sun goes into opposition with Pluto, that is a very powerful influence. And if you recall, going back a few years ago, we had that eclipse series between your sign, Capricorn, and Cancer, obviously two cardinal signs, and that was before Saturn moved into Aquarius. It was not an easy period, and there could be almost like a little bit of an echo of that again, especially if someone is being very unbending in their approach. The thing with Pluto opposite the Sun can create power battles, and if you have that in your natal horoscope, you're someone who probably does like to maintain your boundaries in quite a fierce way, even if you could be quite subtle about it, because remember, Pluto can be quite a hidden influence. But if something isn't working around a relationship, some strident conversations are possible. But Venus moving on the 18th into Cancer can also bring solutions, or perhaps someone new and rather delightful into your situation. The 19th sees Mercury move from the 7th house and into the 8th. So you're less concerned with what people are saying to you, and much more exercised by what they really mean. The psychology, the 8th house, very Scorpionic, dive in deep. You could do some research, but some transformations are possible in the last third of this month, and that's going to be emphasized once the Sun moves into Leo on the 22nd. Now, of course, the Sun governs the sign of Leo, so it's coming home. Great place to be. But all those discussions that you're having, it's all about finding that balance between what you give out and what you expect back. You may very wisely not expect everything to be exactly quid pro quo. One person could give the children a lot of support, for example, the other person work very long hours. They're very important roles, just a bit different. So I don't believe that you'll be looking for an exact matchup, but what you're really wanting this month is to be sure that your dedication and sincerity are being reciprocated in equal measure. So once the move of Mercury and the Sun into the 8th house happens, if that's not the case, it's really going to see you thinking much more seriously about whether you want to continue in a longer term phase of the relationship. And what's really going to bring this all home to roost is not the Leo new moon, which occurs on the 28th, which actually can be very good if you're wanting to do any changes around a property matter, raise funds to move, because it links brilliantly to the planet of luck, Jupiter, in your home zone, despite Jupiter going retrograde on the 28th. No, it's Mars aligning with Uranus, which occurs in the last 5 days of July. And if something isn't working, even though you may be someone who doesn't look for direct confrontation, and you really enhance and respect the role of stability in your life, I think that's an aspect that can push you to be much more outspoken and vocal. The 5th house is, where we express ourselves, the creativity, the talents, the flair, even the raunchiness, especially when Mars is in the mix. But Uranus is a very authentic, encouraging influence. It doesn't want to compromise. It's especially with Mars. So a big, very, very powerful connection or disconnection could happen at the end of this month. And therefore the Leo new moon could be about a new beginning, which, you know, is a transformation, or it could bring some wonderful news in about a property renovation, move, upgrade that you really want to bring into your world, and that can happen at the end of this month or into August. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you for joining me, and goodbye for now.